Welcome to the Graybeard Chronicles podcast. Your hosts, Brian Halstead and Kevin Harkins, are two gray-bearded patriots who love God, their family and friends, and their country. The Graybeards are here to inspire, inform, and educate you on a myriad of topics they are passionate about. Brian and Kevin have a strong desire to share this with you to help you live your best life. Sit back and enjoy this amazing podcast as the Graybeards pass along the wisdom of the ages.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. I'm Brian Halstead.
And I'm Kevin Harkins.
And Kevin, we're here to pass along some wisdom of the ages. What the heck does that mean?
We're not perfect, but we do have gray beards. And that means we've got some significant life experience, some life lessons, and some perspectives that are worthy of passing along.
Well, I think that sums it up nicely. Let's get to it. Kevin, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Bryant.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I learned something about you in the pre-recorded session when we were talking today. I didn't know this.
All right, everybody, listen up. You know, those that listen know that he's about to drop a bomb.
No, there's no, no bomb.
What you got?
There's no. I didn't know that you had done the I don't know if it's a reading or a interaction with a psychic to have a connection or something. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that about
absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I'm happy to share more about that.
Okay.
And I know why you bring that up, because we have an outstanding guest with us this evening that we're very excited to talk with and hear more from. And those that are watching this on YouTube have already seen her. So let's call out who this is. So with us tonight is Reverend Corbie Mitleid, and she is a self-described different one. Has always been that way. She's a psychic medium, certified professional tarot card reader, an ordained minister, and she's very much a visionary it's interesting, in a family of all medical professionals. So dad's a doctor, brother's a doctor, mom's a nurse, and she just decided that was not her path. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So she's had a couple of marriages that didn't work out, survived 3 bouts with breast cancer, and just had an amazing life thus far. And there's no doubt in my mind she'll be able to share some great wisdom with those of you that are listening and watching, and we're certainly excited to have her here. So Corbie, welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks for asking.
Corbie, one of the things that I noticed about you when you first came on a few minutes ago, and we said that to you before, and I won't tell anybody what your age is, but one of the things
it's 67, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm telling
you
you,
gotta know, because
you look like that
when I
at
go
67.
into
Yeah. You look like that
When
at 67. You need to be walking around saying it's 67.
Right. You're doing something right. Doing something right. Anyway, because of that, you've been through some stuff. You've lived some life. You've experienced. You've had some very serious, medical issues. You've had relationship issues. You've had spiritual issues. That's the kind of stuff we love, because that's the kind of the wisdom that we can learn from and pass along to people who are listening to us and to our listening audience and to the next generation. So this is being recorded and it's going to be on the internet, and that means it'll be there forever. There you go.
God help them.
Right.
Yes.
As far as we know at this particular point in time, it'll
Right.
be there forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
No doubt.
cool. So where are we starting?
Well, I'm interested to hear more about how you realized that you had these abilities. And I know you talk about the fact that everyone has the ability to develop what you have. Most people just never realize it and never open that door. So I'm interested to learn how that happened for you, what that path has been like.
Well, that's what I cheerfully called the 30-second elevator speech. When I was 9, I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I went, whoa, there's magic in the world, and I wanted to go find it. Fast forward to 1973, when I was a senior in high school, which is why they're going to figure out I'm 67 anyway.
Got it.
I was working part-time at Spencer Gifts, and they had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell bottoms and your fringe jacket and your deck.
Okay.
So 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still reading the cards. They fascinated me, and I loved the stories that they told. So I just stuck with it for 20 years, reading for friends. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people with no training. That's when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, greetings, you're working for us. Okay. So I hung out my shingle part-time, meanwhile having bunches of careers, trying to find where I fit. Actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, executive recruiter. Things changed on 9/11. As my husband and I watched the towers burn, I said to him, I need to do this work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He said, I believe in you, go do it. So for another year, I did 70 hours a week corporate, working for someone who threw files at my head when they didn't like what I told them, and did the psychic work every evening and weekend I could. 2002, slammed the door on corporate, and I have never looked back. I now work 6 days a week. I read 1,000 people a year. I'm in books, I've written books, and I get to get up every morning. I don't have to get up every morning, and that's the key.
Outstanding. I like that. What day of the week? What's your day? What's your off day?
Wednesday.
Why Wednesday?
Because when I was on the road traveling, I might have to leave for Canada on Thursday and I wouldn't get back to Tuesday. Wednesday, I always knew I was home. So I took the day off. That's when I do all my stuff, like get the haircut, go to the doctors. And my husband, when he was working, we had date night. Now it can pretty much be date day. He was a museum director for an 8-building Revolutionary War site for 23 years. But he is now retired too. He is now simply a professional historian.
Wow.
Very cool.
That's fascinating as well.
And cat custodian.
Yeah. We do have our 3 cats, but he and I are both history people. I mean, we met at the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome in Rhinebeck, New York, which is just the coolest flying museum. They have 1909 Blérios to barnstormers. And as he says, there was this gorgeous brunette who knew the difference between a Fokker DR1 and an F1 based on the wing skids. I had to marry her. So
If it's something you
right
care
there.
about, that's cool. And somebody else, yeah, that's nice. I like it.
Yep.
All right, I have a question for you. I am
Yes.
a rookie at
Mhm.
I mean, I know there's tarot cards. I've known about them my whole life, but I've not ever participated in anything like that. I'm not worked with a medium, and so it's a world that I am completely, well, not completely, but nearly completely unfamiliar with. And so for somebody like me, what would you say? And I, as I said to Bryant and to you just before we started recording, I'm not off board, but I'm not on board. I'm kind of, well, I just don't know.
That's fine.
Okay.
So if you were sitting down with me as a rookie, I would give you my rookie rules, which are: number 1, if you don't understand what I'm telling you, you stop me right there. Corbie, back it up and do it again. I ain't getting it.
Okay.
2, there is no such thing as a stupid question. You ask whatever you like. 3, there are 3 cards that weird out rookies: Death, the Devil, and the Tower. When they come up, I'll tell you what they mean, because it ain't that. When I put it that way, people relax. The other thing I'm going to tell you to do is go get this. This book is The Psychic Yellowbrick Road: How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys. And I wrote it for people like you.
Okay.
You know, if you go to an art museum, you may love sculpture. You know, you stand in front of the Rodin and you just admire how brilliant it was. But that doesn't mean that you then want to go home, get marble and a chisel and find the camel inside.
Right.
You just want to appreciate.
You bet.
This book is specifically written for people that don't want to go through psychic development themselves, even if they could, but they'd like to use intuitive counseling. So this keeps you safe. How to find a good reader, what you can ask, what you shouldn't, when to run, the kinds of things we can do.
Okay.
And I wrote the book because of what I saw in Canada, God, 17 years ago. This was a massive, massive psychic fair, 250 booths. And there's an aisle, and people walk down the aisle and they decide who they're wanting. And across from us was your typical fake gypsy.
Okay.
So we see a woman walking down the aisle, and the fake gypsy comes out and grabs the woman's arm. Now that's called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking.
Okay.
And the gypsy says, oh, you no need to pay $30, $40, $50. I do your palm for 10. Come. Drags the woman into her booth behind her screen. 20 minutes later, a bunch of us see the woman leaving, crying hysterically, and we run over to see what's going on. The gypsy had told her, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4. You have dog? $50 every family member, 25 for a dog. He's small, we fix. And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle. She was going to have her entire family die in a car accident in 2 weeks, and she bought it. She just handed over $400.
So this,
and
this
I just,
oh,
steam coming out of the ears, and I said, I got to write something about this.
okay.
Hunt's book.
Okay. And I'm intrigued, and I look forward to reading the book. Here's something that Bryant and I talk about a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
There are so many people who give control of their lives away to external forces, and we try to combat that when you literally are giving away control of your life, when you allow all of these external forces to
That's right.
help you decide what it is that you're going to do with your life.
Yep.
And so we tell people that's, so how is this shows you how rookie I am. I'm getting the impression that when you go through a tarot reading, a card comes up and that means something. And so they tell you something, the reader tells you something, and then you internalize that. And all of a sudden, again, they'll tell you that if you don't buy all these candles, then your curse will remain. I mean, that just sounds crazy to me.
That's the old idea of fortune teller. I am an intuitive counselor. What's the difference? I'm going to say to you, here are your opportunities and how to grab them. Here's the tough stuff. Here's how to get through it or around it. Here's your toolbox. Go rock and roll. I hand you the toolbox. I'm not the repairman. I hate yes or no questions. Do not ask me if your new business is going to be a success, because I will look at you over my glasses and say, and what if I said, no, you're going to lose everything and live in a box under a bridge? Wrong question.
Got it.
And I've got an entrepreneur spread, a card for you, a card for the energy around the business, a card for the brick and mortar location to look for, how to market it, clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. You now have a rocket pack on your back. It's not flip 3 cards and say, wait until October and fire the second red hit. It's bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the cards are only part of it, right? I mean, you do readings without cards, I would imagine.
I do. But the thing is, I'm a certified tarot master because I have been using these puppies for so long that we understand each other, and I know how to give the allegory to people. That's the important part, right? And I'm looking for some of the cards that really work with that, right? For instance, the death card. Death of an old way of life, death of what you've outgrown, death of what was never you in the first place. It does not mean you're going to be hit by a damn bus on Tuesday. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Here is the 8 of Swords. It looks very scary. The woman is blindfolded and bound, and it's a scary place, and she's surrounded by swords. But the allegory, the blindfold and the bindings are loose. If she gets them off, she's willing to look forward and move under her own power. Notice that the skirt is not pinned down by the swords. She can walk out. The beer is flat, the wine is sour, the water is dirty. There is no more nourishment in those cups. So the guy dons the cloak of his passion, leans on the staff of his will, says, that's a mother of a road ahead, but what I want's on the other side. When you tell people stories, and words are my drug of choice, they internalize the message, but in a way that puts the power in their hands.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I can get on board with that. Yeah, if you're, and it actually sounds like it could be empowering. And again, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but just based on what you just said and showing the cards and telling them how they could use that information as a tool to clarify and make them think, all right, I'm good with that.
Now, there are some times that the card has a certain meaning, but that is not what the cards tell me, and I kind of blurt it out. I'm looking for the card. It's the Three of Pentacles. In most decks, it shows someone working on a church building with stained glass windows and the stone walls. It usually means long-term or mastery. But I looked at this card. I was reading for a couple in Kitchener, Ontario, and what came out of my mouth was, I think there's a deconsecrated or abandoned church around here and you need to open up a cafe bakery. And they looked at each other and they looked at me and said, oh yeah, we know which one. We've been arguing about it for 2 years. Even I just have to go, okay, fine. But what I remind people is even the best of us are only 85% accurate. The only one 100% accurate is God, and he's not got a booth at the local psychic fair this week.
He's at all of them.
But you can't hand him money and say, does Bruce love me?
That's right.
God. That's the 95% of the questions are romance. Does Bruce love me? And you know, I'll throw you, Bruce, the relationship, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. And then if they go, I still don't know, I pull the 3 threes. 3 cards for status quo. They kind of just bumble along and do it. 3 cards for the come to Jesus meeting where they have serious counseling, and 3 cards for it's been nice, I'll send you a card, hostile, bye-bye, and they leave. But free will means I don't care if I think I see the Beetlejuice sign on leave. If they look at me and say, I guess I can stick it out a while longer, I have to zip it. Otherwise, I'm no better than the gypsy. The only time I don't do that is if in our discussion, it sounds like they're being battered, gaslit, hurt. Then the psychic hat comes off, the reverend collar goes on, and we do a little pastoral counseling, and I say, you need to leave.
Okay.
That's different.
So perfect time for a segue, since you mentioned the reverend hat as well. Now I've heard that there are some religious denominations that really kind of shy away from the psychic medium beliefs and so on. It's something you definitely don't even delve into.
Right.
Can you expand on that for me?
Sure. I'm a non-denominational minister.
Okay.
And I did that primarily many years ago as a safety factor. Because when I was reading south of the Mason-Dixon line, I would be approached and, you're doing the devil's work. And I'd say, oh no, it's pastoral counseling. I'm a reverend. Oh, reverend, I'm so sorry. You go right ahead. You know, I've had death threats. I've walked into psychic fairs where people threw things at us. You know, I mean, it isn't quite as awful as Ruby Bridges going and being the first Black child in an all-white school. But it's that kind of vitriol and hate. They are convinced that what we do is the devil's work. And I just want to look at them and say, excuse me, have you read Acts chapter 2? You might want to look at it again.
And are you, you're a reverend in attached to which organization?
It's called the Order of Melchizedek, the Sanctuary of the Beloved.
Okay.
And it deals basically with the Christ consciousness. Jesus happens to be the most famous suitcase thereof. But what my personal religion is doesn't matter, and I keep it private. Yeah. What I tell people is, I do not care if you are Christian, Jewish, pagan, Hindu, Muslim, or believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. I really don't. You just got to know that somebody up there loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you. I have trouble with atheists because I did the cancer dance 3 times, and I do not think I got out of it all by my little onesies. I had help.
Yeah. So somebody who's been through your kind of life experience, how do you personally describe God? You said that was God. What is God to you exactly?
That's like asking an ant to go into a calculus class and teach. It can't even hold a pencil in its little paws. I mean, come on.
A great metaphor. No, and that really is.
It's
I like that metaphor.
we had little pea brains.
Right.
And if God created the entire universe, and then you realize that Earth is smaller than a speck of dust in the Milky Way and the galaxy, how can you possibly have an idea about God? What
Okay.
it is. It's
Yeah.
but what emanates from whatever that central point is love, is compassion. People hate what they fear. God is fearless. What's the, you know, I don't know if you guys remember the 2,000-year-old man bit with Mel Brooks and
I
Steve
don't
Martin.
remember it. Yeah, I don't remember it.
It was great. He was interviewing, and the guy says, "So you say you invented God. How did that happen?" And Mel Brooks is the little old man says, "Well, there was this big guy, and his name was Phil. And we used to pray to Phil. Oh, Phil, please do not take our mastodon meat. Oh, Phil, please do not hit us with your club." And then one day, lightning struck Phil and he died. And we decided there's something bigger than Phil. That was how they invented God. But that's the whole point. I will not believe that God points the finger at someone who loves differently, believes differently, looks different, and say, "I don't like you. I only like these little guys over here. They're perfect." That's because we think like third graders. We do.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't
we
even
like
think
someone
that
on
way.
Monday and then hate them on Wednesday because they forgot to trade their bologna sandwich for a frog. And get real.
I don't even think we think like third graders. I think we think like something much less than third graders in terms of finite beings trying to understand the infinite God. And I agree.
Mhm.
I also agree with your sentiment that there are so many. I grew up in a Christian home. I am a Christian, but that's who I am and what I am. But I will also tell you that I was exposed to Christian denominations who will fall on their sword with respect to the issue of, we got it right. We have the market cornered on what it means to go to heaven. We know what good living is. And if you don't live by our little set of rules, you're going to hell. That's, very common in a lot of, Christian denominations. I can't speak for the other religions, but I just don't
I
believe that.
don't refer to that as Christianity. I refer to that as churchianity.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Because that's, as far as I can tell, that is not what Jesus had in mind. It
Okay.
isn't.
Okay.
If you want to know what I think hell is, my understanding, being a medium, is when we transition over, we do have to do a life review. And every time we see something we did that was kind, that was altruistic, that brought somebody peace or security or joy, we get to feel that as if it's us. And when we look at the hate, and we look at the hurt, and we look at the snide, then we feel the pain and grief that we did to someone else as if it's ours. That's hell. And then you drop it and you go on. Because, and here's another one. They all say, we only live once. Reincarnation is a lie. And I'll look at them and I'll say, well, you're right too, because it is the soul that reincarnates time and time and time again. You, me, we get one and done. The personality is a learning vehicle. And when we're done, personality is like a coat that gets hung up in the closet. And when I explain this to people, I say, okay, let's take the actor Matt Smith. He was the 11th Doctor on Doctor Who. He's my doctor. I loved him. But when he hung up the suspenders and the bow tie, he went and played Prince Philip for 2 seasons in The Crown. Totally different kind of person. One actor brought both to life. Matt Smith is like the soul. The two parts he played are like incarnations. When people see it that way, they get it.
Okay.
That's confusing.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And I'm very much subscribe to that same belief myself. I said a couple of years ago when I was speaking at a celebration of life for someone that I think we need to stop talking about people who have passed away from this physical life in past tense, because their spirit, who they are as a being, isn't dead. Their physical body died here, and we can't see them and interact with them in that physical form. And that person that we knew, that entity that we knew, is still very much alive and is just somewhere else in a different form right now.
Exactly. My father, who was my best friend, we even shared a birthday. He was a brilliant physician. He's been dead now for 21 years. So occasionally when I'm doing some medical intuitive work, he'll pop in. What do I get? He still puns terribly. He's still funny, but he still has compassion and incisive medical abilities. What did he leave behind when he transitioned? His anxiety, his depression, and his hypochondria. There's no need for that up there. But all of the good things we are, that's part of your soul. That's your soul shining through these personalities.
So now that I'm sorry, Kevin. So now that you've said that, right? So when he chimes in, for Kevin's benefit and others that may have not ever experienced a reading, can you share with them how that might work? How you get messages and so on?
All right. For this case, and Dad does not always come in, but there was a woman, 74. She was still an RN. Good for her. She said, "Could you just do a baseline for me, health-wise, see how I'm doing?" And I kind of hear this rustle of a white coat behind me, and I point to the empty air. And I say, "I'd like to introduce you to my father, Dr. Dworkin. He was a crack cardiologist, and he still does consults." Now, I know from nothing about medicine. Remember that. And I kind of open up, and all of a sudden, what comes out of the mouth is, "What's with the T waves?" She looks at me. Now, what does a cardiologist do but read electrocardiograms, EKG? Her last EKG had abnormal T waves on it. That's what she told me. So I look over my shoulder at the empty air and I say, "You're still a pretty damn good doctor, even if you're dead." He laughs. I can't know that stuff. Not only do I not know how to read an EKG, but I did not know what she just had. I can't explain that except that I'm getting something from up there. I just am. There is a reason, however, I will not do mediumship in a gallery the way Lisa Williams, James Zampra, John Ed, they all do it. It's because I don't censor. And I do it a little differently. I don't fish because it's too easy to fool you. I see a woman in a flower dress handing you a rose. It's your grandmother. Oh, can I vomit now? I want their dog tags. For instance, my father, Jerome Richard Dworkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80. Notice that tells me nothing, but it gets me into the energy. Right. And what my guides do is they play charades with me. I will not do the movement, that is, decide what to do, but I'll feel my hand do things like, this is smoking. A hand like this over the mouth means they were intubated on oxygen or having trouble breathing at the end. This means it was an accident. And there are all kinds of things like that. So I will not censor. Once you say, yeah, that's dead Aunt Mabel, I'll open up and I'll say exactly what they're saying. And sometimes the message they give that way is precise for what you want. The example I always use, there was a biracial same gender couple. The Black partner had died and her white widow wanted to speak to her. Now, this face grew up a nice Jewish kid in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I have manners. But what comes floating out of my mouth in flawless urban ebonics was, "Well, shit, it ain't my white bitch." And I'm going, and the woman in front of me is laughing and nodding because that is how her partner Isabel walked into the house after every business trip. Now, if I had censored that because I was in front of an audience, that means A, my ego is involved and my fears, and B, she wouldn't have gotten that message.
Right.
There was a woman, she was in York, Pennsylvania. I did not know that she used to live in Texas and she had married a Texan. She said, my husband, Jim, died 6 months ago. Could you get him? And so all of a sudden I feel my arms go out and my head tilt and I go, hey, baby. That's how we walked in the house every night. I let these things go. Smaller things. A woman wanted to talk to her father-in-law. All of a sudden I feel myself miming a pool cue. He taught her how to play pool. A woman wanted to speak to her grandmother and I feel myself saluting. Now, notice, Americans salute palm down. Brits and Canadians salute palm out. She had just graduated from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Academy 2 weeks ago, and her grandfather was acknowledging that. I don't know how the hell I do this, gentlemen. If I did, I'd teach it and I'd be rich. But this is just how my guides want to work with me to bring this information to other people. But we're not dial-a-dead. You know, if Aunt Mabel is on a field trip up there, she won't be by the phone. So I can't promise I'm going to get him.
Right. Have you done any work with law enforcement or anybody, you know, like in missing persons cases or things of that nature?
That is not my gift. I know some forensic mediums and they're brilliant at it. But my whole thing is healing emotions. There have been many times tough conversations between the dead person and the one who's lost them. And there is peace at the end of it. That's my gig. I'm not surprised I don't do forensics because I don't watch horror movies either. They're too real. So.
And when you say peace at the end, it's peace for the living, right? Because the folks that have passed, they've already found their peace.
Yes. Yes. There's much forgiving that is done. And the people that are still here realize, yeah, I can move forward.
So what have you learned? Man, my mind is racing. I could talk about this for hours now that we've opened.
I get that a lot.
Yeah. So you have said you believe that I'm going to call it reincarnation, but you know we continue to exist in a variety of different ways over time. And so when this body that I'm in dies physically, and my spirit goes on to, and so you have said just now that those souls have found their peace because they've transitioned. Are they transitioning now to a spiritual being that they're done being other things? Because right now in my life, I wouldn't say that I am, I haven't transitioned. And so I still have lots of baggage and lots of problems. And
I guarantee you the ones who say, oh, I know this is my last life. I've done so much. Ain't happening. That's, ego. We don't have to incarnate a certain number of times. The soul, the higher self, has things they want to learn. So that is our pre-birth plan that we come down with. Now, how can you have a pre-birth plan and free will like this? You go to college, you decide, I will be a physics major. Great, that's your major. You're going to graduate with that. But then you choose gut courses or double major plus lab. That's your free will. So you can either have a life where you pick it up really fast and you move easily toward what you want to learn, or you can keep arguing like the little kid who doesn't want to go to bed and doesn't want to sit in the timeout and. God just looks at you and goes, when you're done.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you done yet? No? Okay, fine.
Okay. All right.
So how do you do most of your readings? Are they in person, on the phone, via Zoom? Do you have a preference?
I used to be on the road 45 weekends a year, about 45,000 miles a year on the car. My nickname was the Travel Channel. But that was great in my 40s and 50s and very early 60s. I was feeling it in about 2019, but I didn't want to come off the road. And that's when the soul, the higher self goes, we got to get this handled. All of a sudden, summer 19, herniated disc, pinched nerve, that makes having triplets look like a tea party, trust me. So after about 4 months, I was pretty much back, patched together. But the doctor said, your career is toast. You are not going to do load in, load out. You're not going to be 10 hours one way in the car anymore. So I scrambled to get my business online completely. Well, that was the fall of 19. And what happened in March of 2020, but the advent of the year of Murder Hornet Bingo and Hold My Beer. Now, If I had still just been doing circuit, my business would have tanked. Since then, my business has been even better. Besides, I have clients, like I said, I'm having somebody tonight after you guys from Mumbai that I'm going to read on Zoom. You think she wants to come to Cobleskill with the sheep and the cows? No. And if people say, how can you read people and you're not with them? I'd say, if I could only read you in person, how do you know I'm not reading your body language? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, phone, Zoom, Skype, doesn't matter.
And what's the best way for folks to find you?
Oh, they can't avoid me. Are you kidding? Corbie Mitleid all over the internet. My website is corbiemitleid.com. Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Patreon, Medium, all of it is Corbie Mitleid. The only place that isn't is Facebook, which is Fire Through Spirit, because that's where I do my readings once a month for free. Quick answers.
Nice. Kevin, did you pick up on the reference to the mother of triplets?
I did.
Right. No
Yes.
accidents.
Right.
It just so happens that a couple of weeks ago, we had a guest who was a mother of triplets. So
that poor woman. Oh my God.
Yeah. So tell us about your books, right? So just kind of give a brief walkthrough of each one and, the information contained where, kind of a summary anyways.
Sure. First one is Clean Out Your Life Closet. And I will give $50 cold cash to anybody who can actually say, I have never picked up or read a self-help book, because we all have. We are taught from schnutzhood that we don't know our own life. We can't do it right. We have to ask the experts. But I'm sorry. When I was doing research for this, there was a book that said you can't eat food with leptin in it, and you really need to get up at 4:30 in the morning and do yoga for your spirit. If you are a mother in Minneapolis and you have two preschool kids and a job, hell no. So this whole book is, here's some of the dumb things I did. Here's some client stories. Here's some thoughts. But at the end of each chapter, there are the adventure pages. And you have to answer these from your own experience. Things like, has perfect been a friend or foe in your life? Why? When did the search for perfection stop you from doing something important? How? You're not going to find that on page 87. And the book teaches you about clarity, simplicity, adaptability, and making friends with stress. Then there's the Psychic Yellow Brick Road, which I told you guys about earlier. And the third one, it's kind of a niche thing. I'm 67, guys, and there's room for, there are 8 billion people in the world and I can't read them all. You want to go on the road like I did? You've got the magic Who Needs a Genie. And in here, it's specific for doing holistic expos. And I give you some tips like the sign-in sheet and a note that says Corbie Gets Candid. Why? Because I insist that a client sign in the sheet with their name and their phone number, their email. Why? Because in London, Ontario, all my good stories are Canadian. I read a young man, he wasn't keen about the reading. The next morning, I found an anonymous death threat on my table, but it was in handwriting. I took the handwriting, matched it with a sign-in sheet, handed it over to the Ontario police.
It's good to have a suspect list. That's outstanding.
Life is dangerous now.
Yeah.
Life is breaking down. And so, no, just because we do angelic work, love and light, all of that doesn't mean, we've talked about the death threat. We've talked about having things thrown at us. We've talked about being told we're the devil. But the work I do is important enough to me that I'll take the shot of going out there, and I've just learned how to stay safe.
So what's the, if you could tell us one story, share with us one experience that you had helping someone, without getting into, somebody's personal details, but something that really was impactful for you and, reinvigorated you or gave you that feeling of, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
3 quick ones if I can. First 2 are about how I get past lives for people. Woman comes to me and says, my son is 29. He still won't do anything without checking with me first. He won't live more than a mile away. What's going on? Again, I have the ability to see the past lives, bring them down. So I said, all right, It's 44. I'm seeing Utah Beach. Your son is on the beach. He's got a pretty badly mangled leg. You're his commanding officer. You grab him, you pull him over a dune or something. You take some shrapnel, but you both get out of there alive. And she looks at me and she says, can you see my rank? I said, yes, you're a sergeant. She goes, he's called me sergeant since he was 3 years old and we've never known why. One.
Yeah, that gave me chills.
A woman from Des Moines, just always fascinated by the Underground Railroad. It has no connection with it, nothing in the family, nothing. Okay. I see her in a whitewashed room. It's low ceiling. They're two very tall gentlemen who they're standing bent over because the room is so small. She's kneeling by the bed. The dress looks to be about 1862, 63. It's gray with black soutache around the sleeves and the hem and the peplum. And in the bed, there is a very old little lady. She's black, she's dying. It's a rickety iron bed and everybody is grieving because they had gotten her from a plantation in Mississippi up. She was almost to Boston, which would have been the end of the railroad for her, but she was dying, she wouldn't make it. And I opened my eyes and the woman is sobbing. And she says, I have had that exact dream for 20 years and never known what it was.
Wow.
The key is this. Yes, can anybody do what I do? Absolutely. But when you decide you want to play with this, Spirit goes rifling through your file cabinet to see what you're good at. Me,
yeah,
theater major at Brown, and I acted in New York. I understand character arts. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer. I can tell a story. And I have been a history freak since I was in single digits. You put all that together and you match me up with somebody else who does past lives and we'll see the same thing. They might say, well, it's a big hat and an old long skirt and old building. So I know it's like old fashioned. And I could go hobble skirt, picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather. You're standing in front of the Brandenburg Gate. This is Berlin in 1911 or 12. On the other hand, do not give me a pencil and ask me to do spirit art because I can't draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil and a lot of prayer. We all do what we're good at and what brings us joy. And there is lots of room for everybody to find out what they're good at.
Yes, there is. That's good stuff. And I all the stuff that you're talking about in terms of the various gifts that we're given and how that manifests itself in people's lives and how they serve humanity. I believe very much in that. If you had I would say,
Yes.
just pick a like a motto or a life philosophy or a purposeful statement that you live by that if you could communicate that to our audience, or what would that be right now, so they walk away with a mental handle on something, and it doesn't have to be your favorite. It just can be something that's striking you at this moment. Anything you want.
There are always three questions you need to ask in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, what am I X about? X is sad or afraid or angry, depressed, whatever. Why am I X about that? And the question we never ask ourselves, what do I think would happen if I stopped being X about that?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Give yourself a chance to change. It's all, you can change a belief in a moment.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, you can.
I like it.
Very cool. So what have we not asked you that we should ask you?
Oh, we didn't talk about elder versus boomer.
Oh,
and that's
right.
important.
Yeah, let's hear that.
Okay. I'm teaching a lot of Gen Zs because since I've never had kids, I'm just the biggest kid in the room and they find me fun. But the thing is, boomers, the reason why okay boomer has become an epithet is because boomers, we were in the sweet spot. And so we were able to buy houses and we could keep jobs and we had the greatest music and the coolest cars. And these kids today, okay, when we were their age, we were not afraid of being shot dead in school. We were not afraid of a disease that we could catch that would ruin us for years, like long COVID, and the doctors can't tell us what to do. We were never afraid that the world would be uninhabitable in our lifetime. We never had the fear that our neighbor was free to come across and plant a bullet in our brain because we voted blue instead of red, or we chose to get a vaccine, or we're a different religion, or we believe in science and they believe in God, and they think that you can't do both. Gen Z has all that. What do? We boomers, how do we become elders? Number one, we respect everything that they are going to have to go through. Number two, we get off the stage. It's not about us anymore. We cede the spotlight to them. We look at our life and we look for the timeless information we can give them. When they ask, we don't pontificate. And we learn how to be third trenchers. Now, what's a third trencher? World War I again. Front trench are the people who went over the top. Second trench was the troops that were waiting to go next. Third trench was medical, food, etc. When you're a third trencher, it's things like you pack the lunches and do the dishes. You don't plan the food bank or the dinner for the homeless. You do the work that doesn't get sung about so that the millennials, the Gen Zs, the next generations know what it feels like to be in the spotlight, to make the plans and to make a difference in the world. That is how to be an elder, not a boomer.
That's deep.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, that's sound advice.
Indeed.
Now the gears are turning, even more so.
Yeah,
Good.
that's
my
a lot
job.
to digest. That's a lot to digest. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, this was good. I didn't know where this was going, and I'm not disappointed in where it went.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Any questions you have for us? Any parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. Well, I asked you about the pipes and the liquor. They all were fine. I admit, I'm Scotch. I drink Glenmorangie, but that's all right. And just, this is the kind of discussion that I wish we of our age could have more of.
Yeah.
When you heard your beginning, they believe in your God, country, family, you would not think that someone with that kind of beginning spiel would have someone like me on.
Right.
But there was equal discussion. There was mutual respect. There was the ability to stay open and learn from each other. Dear God, we need more of that.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you for that.
You are certainly welcome, and thank you, thank you for saying that, because that is hugely important to both of us, and that's one of the reasons we do these, because we want to share information from all different aspects of people's lives, and open people's eyes to things that they haven't been exposed to. And
Yes.
I mean, it's a big world out there. There's a lot of people doing a lot of things, and there's a lot of great information that folks just don't have access to because they haven't chosen to reach out and learn more.
Can't judge a book by its cover, and we often do. Many of us, most of us, probably do that. And you're right. We've heard that very thing that you just said a couple times in the past. And actually, I remember, and I won't name names, but back in the very early days of this, we were talking to somebody about us and wanting to get their opinion, and they read just kind of what we were about, and then in conversation, Corbie, they said, wow, what you guys have talked about is not what I would have expected that you would have talked about, or where you stand on issues. But you are exactly right. That's one of the things that we've lost, is the ability to talk to each other in respectful, treating everybody with respect and dignity, where they're at, and then finding the common ground and going from there. And you're right. You've said it. We have to be able to have those conversations and go forward like that. And this is a platform to do that, we hope. And so this was wonderful. This was absolutely wonderful.
Great. It was absolutely lovely.
Well, thank you again. We certainly appreciate your time. And it was absolutely awesome talking with you. And I know that there's folks that are going to get a ton out of this. So thank you for that.
Gentlemen, it was a true pleasure.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to hit this button over here, Kevin. You ready?
Do your thing over there. There you go. There you go.
I think I hit it too hard and caused
did.
it to malfunction. No matter who you are, where you are, make sure between this podcast and the next, you take time to enjoy the ride.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Graybeard Chronicles. Please subscribe so you'll receive notification when new episodes are available. To learn more about the Graybeards, visit their website, graybeardchronicles.com.